Hey Falcons, it's Mrs. Abdul. It's summer, so I'm going to talk about my top 10 for summer reading. I can't start off without talking about Candace Fleming, who was our author visit this past March. She spent an entire session talking specifically about murder among friends. This is true crime. This is not historical fiction. Every phrase, every research, image, everything, every fact in this book is all documented. Candace Fleming was intrigued by these two boys at 18 years old, Leopold and Loeb, who decided that together they were going to try to commit the most perfect murder, killing a young boy named Bobby Franks. They got caught pretty quickly afterwards. They were put on trial. They were defended by a famous lawyer named Clarence Darrow. What happened to them? All part of the mystery of the story. Why did they get caught so soon after trying to commit this most perfect crime? How did they become who they were as individuals? Why did these two guys get together and try to commit the crime? All of it is answered in Candace Fleming's book, Murder Among Friends. The next set of books is a duology, which means it's the first and second book of a series that's the two of them alone. Anatomy introduces us to Hazel, who is a girl in Edinburgh in 1817. She wants to become part of a medical society and become a surgeon. But in 1817, that reality for girls is just not something that's going to happen. Hazel tries and she gets kicked out of the society. So she decides that in her own castle in the basement in Hawthornden, she's just going to do it herself. So she hooks up with this guy named Jack, who is a grave robber. And his job is to bring her bodies that she can work on. And then she's also going to work on actual alive human beings to start her studies because that's the only thing that she loves and knows and wants to do. Anatomy ends with a cliffhanger as Jack and Hazel fall in love. Immortality begins with Hazel treating her patients in Hawthornden, but she is subsequently arrested but saved from this hell of living in prison by King George III. He wants her to be removed from prison in order to be the personal physician for his granddaughter, who right now, Princess Charlotte, is struggling health-wise. So luckily she is saved by this, but she realizes that Princess Charlotte is nobody to mess with. She uses her intelligence, her stick-with-itness, her perseverance in order to cure Princess Charlotte of her ailments. But she's also part of this society called the Companions to the Death. And if you know anything about anatomy and you know some of the elements in that story, it continues with Immortality. I highly recommend this duology. For a lighter romance, this is Reggie and Delilah's Year of Falling in Love by Ellie Bryant. She has written several books. This is the first one that I read, and I adored this one. So Reggie and Delilah are our main characters. They meet for the first time at a New Year's Eve event. And every subsequent meeting that they have is around a holiday of some kind. So as they get together, they're kind of, are they into each other? Are they not into each other? Reggie is this, D&D dungeon master. He's kind of a nerd. And Delilah is, doing her own thing, but she is part of this punk band. She's doing it as a favor for her friends. And they realize, like, are they falling in love? Are they not falling in love? How do they want to be with one another? Are they exactly who they say that they are? So it is that amazing kind of like connection, and it celebrates both real and very fun holidays over the course of the year. Scattered Showers by Rainbow Rowell is a short story collection. This short story collection came out in November. Rainbow Rowell is known for her Fangirl series, so that's one of the ones you might recognize. And Scattered Showers, there are a bunch of stories featuring different characters and different situations, but most of them are friends to lovers short stories. There's a lot of seasonal vibes in the story as well. But one of my favorite ones is called Winter Songs for Summer. It's about a girl who has a breakup when she's in college, and there's a bunch of loud guys that live next door to her. And she starts kind of hanging out with one of the boys who helps her through her breakup with a bunch of songs. There's also Midnights, which is another one of my favorite ones. If you like that kind of fun banter between two people. The two meet and realize that at a New Year's Eve party, he's got an extreme amount of allergies. And so she's making fun of him for his allergies, and he's kind of giving it right back. And they end up meeting 1 year later at the same New Year's Eve party. Promise Boys by Nick Brooks. This is absolutely the teen thriller story that everybody can't get enough of, whether it's Karen McManus or Tiffany D. Jackson. Promise Boys just came out in January. It's that dark academia story. It focuses on 3 boys, JB, Ramon, and Trey. The beginning of the story, the principal is murdered at their Promise charter school, and it is absolutely the breakneck speed of who killed the principal, why, were any of these 3 boys part of it? But what I love most about the story is that it moves so fast because all of the different perspectives, including the 3 boys, but also plenty of other characters, are all narrating the elements of the story. So it is absolutely super quick, and it feels like, in the blink of an eye, you're finished with the story. Cells at Work is a manga series that also has an anime. Cells at Work is an anthropomorphized version of how our cells work in our body. So if you're a science nerd, and even if you're not and you're just a manga fan, this is absolutely stunning. I love it. And my favorite are the little platelet kids that come around every time there is a need for them. So in the manga series, it is everything from the flu to actually the most newest one talks about COVID-19. And so when there are attacks on the body, how does everything go to work? And so you see those different characters come alive. You see them on the front covers of the story. I have not watched the anime. I don't know if I ever will because I love the manga so much. So there's already 6 volumes and more to be continued. The next book is called The First Thing About You by Chaz Hayden. And this one features a kid named Harris who is just moving to another area. But his move is a little bit more difficult because he has muscular dystrophy. And so he had a really nice group of people to kind of take care of them, a nurse that helped him when he was at school. But now that he's moved halfway across the country, they need to find somebody new. And the first few people don't work out. There's a pooping incident at the beginning of the story that Harris is like, nah, this person is not going to be helping out. But he meets Miranda, and instantly they have a connection. She's a nursing student herself, and they head off. And so she's there with him every day at school. And it's the back and forth. It's the salty and the sweet. It's the connections that they have to each other, but also that Harris is somewhat bitter sometimes about kind of like the experiences that he has to deal with from other people, especially, and how Miranda kind of helps or doesn't help that makes the story what it is. True Biz by Sarah Novich. This is a pretty fantastic story that teaches you a lot about American Sign Language. And actually the phrase true biz is an American Sign Language for something. And I'll leave you to reading the book to be able to figure that out. The story takes place over 1 year, which is also kind of a cool plot element to the story. But it's at a residential school for the deaf. And there is 2 teen characters and 1 adult character. And each one of them has a different connection with deafness. The adult is the headmistress of the school, the residential school, and the 2 boys. One of them is a deaf girl named Charlie, who's never actually been around other deaf people. She's always been with hearing people. And so now that she's in a community of deaf people, it changes how she sees things. And then you've got Austin, whose family is a legacy deaf family, but there is a new baby that's been born that is hearing. And so how he thinks about it and how his family thinks about interacting with this new family member who will be hearing is a lot different. And so this kind of exploration of all of the ways that they live their lives, but you get this peek inside the deaf world if you are not from that world. Stars and Smoke. Marie Lu is a fantastic storyteller. I can't get enough of Marie Lu. This one came out in March of 2023, and it's going to be part of a series. You love her because Marie Lu writes a bunch of series. And this is an enemies to lovers trope. So if you love those, sign yourself up. And if you're a K-pop fan, definitely another part of that. So Winter Young is a K-pop star, but he's got a little bit of a sad past with his brother dying in war. So that kind of changes sometimes how he thinks about things. Enter Sydney. Sydney is part of this elite ops team, and she is now going to be a part of Winter's team to protect him when he goes in, because he's been invited. This super horrible crime boss guy wants to celebrate his daughter's birthday, and she's a big Winter Young fan. So they've invited him to perform, and this organization finds it the most perfect opportunity to take the crime boss down, and they're going to use Winter through Sydney in order to make that happen. So it's like Spy X Family in prose version. You can't escape the Inheritance Game series. If you are into it, you're into it. If you're not, you're going to be. There is a trilogy, but the fourth book, called The Brothers Hawthorne, is going to be expected to be released on August 29th. And this one is for the puzzle lovers, the game lovers, the mystery fans. The covers are absolutely fantastic on top of that. That's why I had to put them all on here. Avery is the main character. She is getting ready for her senior year of high school at the beginning of the story. And a billionaire named Tobias Hawthorne has willed his fortune to her, except she has to live in the Hawthorne house. And the 4 Hawthorne grandsons are pretty blindsided by this thing happening. So how does Avery deal with coming into these billions? She has to live in this house for 1 full year before it's given to her. Does she even want this headache? And what ends up happening is, pretty epic from start to finish. Can't wait for The Brothers Hawthorne. I can't wait to hear what you are picking for your summer reading. There's going to be a lot of information that comes out from the Albany Schools website. You can follow that pathway to academics, summer programs, and reading 9 through 12. Please follow us on social media. We'll be doing some fun things throughout the summer, and continue to read like a falcon.